Welcome to the Everyday Means Everyday Bootcamp. My name is Brandon Burns. I'm a natural pro bodybuilder. I am a two-time Big Ten championship coach. I'm a peak performance expert and a motivational speaker. And in the next 30 minutes, I'm going to be teaching you everything that you need to know about achieving peak performance, both mentally as well as physically, and how to transform yourself into the type of individual that you genuinely admire and respect. I'm going to share my screen here and start walking you through this. And I promise you, before we get started, if you can just grab a pen and a pad, be ready to take some notes, because this will be some of the most impactful 30 minutes of your entire life. Of course, this is Every Day Means Every Day. If you don't know the story behind that, basically what happened was I was this introverted kid, grew up in a 900 square foot house in East Limestone County, Alabama, to a single mother. I had social anxiety like crazy. I wasn't proud of myself. I didn't have any sort of self-confidence. I was very insecure. Didn't have an elite mindset, certainly didn't have an elite physique at that point. And somehow, some way, I found myself commentating the sport that I love, men's gymnastics. I've been an athlete ever since I was 10 years old, started the sport of gymnastics at 10, started competing at the old age in that sport of 16. And I got cut from the team 4 times in 5 years, fought my way back as a coach of the same team I was cut from, won 2 Big Ten championships, and then eventually got invited to commentate for the Big Ten Network on live national television. I was scared out of my mind. And after my very first broadcast, I walked out into the hallway, and one of the Big Ten Network employees grabbed me and said, "Dude, how often do you work out?" And instinctively, I just said, "Oh, every day." And they stopped me and kind of said, like, "No, what's your actual schedule?" And I stepped back and I said, "I'm confused why you're confused, because I just told you I work out every day." And it made me realize that the standards of society in this day and age are so low that when you tell people that you are dedicated and committed to something on a daily basis rather than an occasional basis, people don't even believe you. And it made me think, if we were to strive for our potential daily instead of occasionally, how much further would all of us be physically, mentally, financially, in life? Where would we really be if we had the identity of consistency? And that is how the Everyday Means Everyday brand was born. I know 75 hard is awesome. I know all these other challenges are awesome, but I'm not in this for 75 days. I'm in this as a lifestyle, not necessarily because of the results it produces, though I'm going to show you how to achieve a peak physique and a peak mentality. More importantly, even though the results are phenomenal, it's more about who you become in the process. Me showing up to the gym every day, me reading every day, me doing some of these habits on a daily basis sets the foundation, not just for success in terms of the outcomes and the results that I've been able to achieve in my life, but more importantly, it sets the foundation for the level of respect and admiration that I have for myself. It created a type of identity and the type of person that I need to be in order to be successful and achieve peak performance across all areas of my life. And that's what this presentation is going to show you how to do from multiple different angles. That's how the Everyday Means Everyday mentality and philosophy was actually born. Now, before we get into it, and before I share all of this valuable information, which I promise you is what most peak performance coaches, most motivational speakers, most personal trainers are going to charge you, thousands and thousands of dollars for. I'm going to give it to you for free over the next 30 minutes. I do just want to make sure that we have the right people here. So this is for you if you are sick and tired of living beneath your potential. If you're sick and tired of waking up and looking in the mirror and not genuinely admiring the man that looks back at you, not genuinely respecting the man that looks back at you, not genuinely loving what you see in the mirror. And I'm talking about from 2 different angles here. Yes, physically, this is a huge part of Everyday Means Everyday, is the fitness component of it. So yeah, physically, you got to have that feeling of pride, but also I'm talking about mentally, because let's be honest, you know your sins and flaws better than anybody else. So you know if you let you down, you know if you break the promises that you keep to yourself, you know if your habits are not on point, you know if you're letting yourself down in relation to your potential. You might be operating at a high level. You might be a good entrepreneur. You might be a CEO. You might be making money. You might look pretty good physically, but you know you could be here, and there's a gap. And you know that gap better than anybody. The only 2 people who genuinely know your potential, even if everybody else around you is cheering you on, is you and God. And so if you look in the mirror and you've got a gap there between where you are and where you feel like you have the capability, the capacity, and the potential to be, and you're sick and tired of living beneath that potential, this is for you. Number two, you want to transform both physically and mentally, okay? If you genuinely want to make a change, this is for you. If you want to operate at absolute peak levels, this webinar is going to be for you. And number three, you want to create a version of yourself that you genuinely admire and respect. We've already talked about that a little bit. Now, this is not for you if you're in love with average, just being honest. If you're the kind of person that's like, yeah, I could be better, but I don't really mind where I'm at right now. This is not the environment for you. Every day means every day is a very curated environment of people who demand their best self, their highest self. If that is not you, if you're not in line with that, this is not going to be the training for you, okay? You're better off just kind of coasting through life. If you're okay with potentially dying with some chips left on the table, that's your business, that's your prerogative, and if you're happy with it, praise God, do your thing. But that's not this community. Number two, you're not committed to change. This is going to be an environment that forces you to get a little bit uncomfortable. If you're not willing to commit to mastery and commit to change, you're not going to get anything out of this. It's going to be another, piece of information that you could have gotten from ChatGPT, and you're going to say, oh, well, it's just whatever. Maybe I'll apply it. Maybe I won't. This is not going to be the environment for you. And last but not least, if you are convinced that you're different, and that's why some of these frameworks aren't going to work for you, I promise you this is not the environment for you. I've done this with myself. I've done this with my Olympic athlete clients. I've done this with Emmy and Grammy award-winning clients. 8-figure entrepreneurs have been through this process of mine. If you are just convinced in your mind that you're so different that, oh, I can't lose weight. Oh, I can't build muscle. I'm a hard gainer. Oh, I have to have these certain vices in my life. Otherwise, I'm going to go crazy. Well, I just believe in having a little bit more balance. Nothing wrong with any of those mentalities, but the idea of believing in balance and also believing in it being worth you investing in being your best self and operating at your peak, those are two different mentalities. One optimizes for comfort and convenience. The other optimizes for premium levels of results. You need to make the decision which side of that table you're on. Over here at EME, we are on the side of it doesn't matter who you are. You owe it to yourself, to God, and to the world to live up to the highest possible version of yourself. If you're not on that, if you're convinced that you're different and nothing's going to work for you, turn this video off right now. This bootcamp training is not for you. Now, why should you listen to me? I mentioned earlier, I grew up in a 900 square foot home in East Limestone County, Alabama. Didn't have a whole lot. Came from, I don't necessarily want to label it as poverty, but it was very, lower, potentially middle class, but we struggled to pay the bills every month. Like I said, I was very unconfident. I had a ton of insecurities. And at this point, I've been able to build the life of my dreams, right? I mentioned the 2 Big Ten championships as a coach of the same team that I was cut from. I built the life of my dreams financially. I've traveled all around the world, took my mom to Europe last year. I've spoken on some of the biggest stages in my industry in terms of motivational speaking and peak performance coaching. And obviously I've built a world-class physique that quite honestly I've been able to maintain pretty much year round using the techniques that I'm going to show you in today's training. So this is about elevating who you are. Yes, there's going to be a big fitness component to it, but we're also going to talk about your mindset, your identity, your habits, and how to sustain this for a lifetime. All right. And now, again, I did not start here. I promise you, I was the most introverted, socially anxious, depressed, like everything was stacked against me. You are probably better prepared in terms of mentality, in terms of starting point than I was when I began my journey. I promise you, it doesn't matter what your situation is. I'm going to be teaching you things that you can absolutely implement to level up who you are, both mentally and physically. Because to be honest with you, this didn't just work for me. I mentioned Olympic clients, D1 clients, entrepreneurs, entertainers, athletes, all of the above. I've run through this exact same system that I'm about to show you, and it just simply works if you are committed to working the system. All right, now let's dive into it. This is about mental and physical transformation. A lot of people come to me for the physique side. A lot of people come to me for the peak performance mindset habit side. The reality is they're the same thing. You can't build a world-class physique if you have crappy habits. And the opposite and the reciprocal is also true, okay? They go hand in hand. Any man that's going to be considered a high performer, any man who's going to be considered a man of status, a man of somebody who of character even, you're going to have your habits in place. And what the mistake that I made was I spent a lot of time right here in the doing section. I thought I could outwork my way to success. I thought I could outwork bad habits. I could outwork my vices. I could outwork my negative environment and my negative mindset. What I finally realized and what helped me break through from all those failures and limitations that I experienced in my past was understanding that the sequence is be, do, have. Not do, then be, then have. You have to become the right person in order to do the right things with the right heart posture to then have the results that you want to have in every area of your life. So this is about full-on transformation of you, your essence, and your identity. Let's dive into how this works. Now, the identity loop is my proprietary intellectual property as it relates to the Everyday Means Everyday brand. And here's how we're going to set it up. I'm actually going to grab a pen and pad here so that I can go through this with you step by step because I don't want to rob you of the process. All right. So we're going to go through this together. The identity loop is very simple. It's a 3-part loop. Number 1 is vision. Okay. So if you have a pen and pad, I want you to write down the word vision right now. Feel free to pause this whenever needed so that you can. I know I'm going to move fast through this. Pause this as needed so that you can actually complete these exercises here in real time. This is critical if anything else is going to work. I'm going to get to the fitness stuff. I'm going to get to the nutrition stuff. I'm going to get to all the practical habits, but this is where it all starts, okay? Number 1, when we write down our vision, I want you to write down the vision not just for what you want, that's important, but I also want you to write down the vision for who you need to be in order to be worthy, in order for God to feel like you're worthy of receiving the things that you want. So you got to sit there and ask yourself, well, who would God trust with $1 million a year? Who would God trust with a world-class physique like that? Like, what would make you worthy? What kind of person would you need to be? You'd probably need to be consistent, because I'll be honest with you, at the end of the day, the root cause of most people's problems is not talent, it's not intelligence, and it's not even a lack of information. It's a lack of consistency. That's why every day means every day. Because the compound interest effect of me going to the gym every day, of me praying every day, of me reading every day, it builds up over time. Even if some days my workouts are 10 minutes long, 5 minutes long. If I'm on the road speaking, there's going to be times where I get back to the hotel room and I just got to bust out a quick 100 push-ups and then go to bed. But guess what? I still checked the box. I still reinforced the identity that I'm the kind of man who shows up for myself every single day and does not allow my environment or my circumstances or my situation to dictate my standards. The standards don't change, period. Now, they might look different day by day, depending on how much I have available to me. Sometimes I can get a 2-hour workout in. Sometimes I can get a 2.5-minute workout in. But either way, I'm going to get it done because that's my standard and I don't change my standards for anything, right? So again, write down the vision. What results do you want in your life? And you can go as deep as how do you want to feel when you look in the mirror? What kind of car do you want to drive? What kind of physique do you want to have? Like, what kind of life do you want to live? What are the tangible, practical results that you want to have? And then by extension, what are the character traits? What sort of essence do you have to have as a man to be able to actually achieve those things and then be worthy of those things? Take a moment, pause the video right now if you need to, and write those things down, okay? I want you to have, by the end of this exercise, a crystal clear vision. Scripture says, write the vision and make it plain so he who reads it may run to it. You need a crystal clear vision of exactly who you are going to be at the end of this process. Write that down now. Now, the second step of this is values. And quite simply, I look at values as your daily non-negotiable standards. So what we're going to do now is translate that vision into a set of values. But I'm not talking about those fluffy values exercises that a lot of coaches have people do. I'm not talking about, oh, well, I value freedom and I value responsibility. And that's not real enough for me. I want you to translate these into tangible values, which again, in my definition, is a daily non-negotiable standard. This is different for each individual and your goals. But start writing out right now, what are the daily non-negotiable standards that would actually make it inevitable for you to be that person. So as an example, I want to be somebody who knows that I honor my own word and that I don't break the promises I make to myself. So for me, the daily workout routine is critical. It shows me that I believe that your soul believes half of what you tell it and all of what you show it. So by me showing up for myself with that daily workout, come hell or high water, no matter what, it's proving to myself that I am that kind of a person. I am that type of guy that's able to do that and show up consistently no matter what. I'm able to hold myself accountable. Even a child can be held accountable by somebody else. I'm the kind of person that has a level of maturity and self accountability that I can hold myself accountable every single day, and every day means every day. So that's one of my non-negotiable standards, is a daily workout. So now I want you to take that vision, translate it into tangible daily non-negotiable standards and benchmarks that you can hit on a daily basis. Now, again, don't make these massive. It doesn't need to be a 1 hour workout. It doesn't need to be, some crazy morning routine. Just easy, simple, broad check boxes that you trust yourself to be able to hit on a daily basis. No more than 5 of these. No more than 5. 3 is probably best to start off with. Write those down now. The last piece of this is verification. This is where we do the work. The verification are the daily deposits that you're actually making to prove to yourself that you're checking those boxes and hitting those non-negotiable standards. That's the whole identity loop. The reason I call it the identity loop is because over time, what's going to happen is it actually changes who you are. Remember our previous slide, be first, then do, then have. The be and the do kind of work together. You've already done the first being decision by deciding to show up to this boot camp and apply yourself and take the notes and do the exercises. That's a part of being the right person, is being willing to invest in your time, energy, effort, etc., being willing to invest those things into becoming the best version of yourself. So you've already started the process of becoming a new person. But now it comes down to, over time, we repeat this loop over and over and over again. I've got a vision. It's plain, it's clear, it's specific. I've got my tangible daily deliverables that I have to focus on. And then I'm making those daily deposits. Over time, it changes the essence of who you believe yourself to be. That's why it's called the identity loop. So write the vision, write the values, and then write down what are the tangible action items that align with those daily standards. Like I told you, for me, one of them is a daily workout. That's a value. That's a daily non-negotiable standard. The deliverable, or the deposit there, is no matter what. It could be a 5-minute workout. It could be an 1.5 hour workout. It doesn't matter. I'm going to get something in every single day. And we're going to want to track that over time. All right. That's the identity loop. That's the first thing I want to give you. The second thing here, and we're going to need to write this down as well, is what I call dual anchor motivation. Now, this is really interesting. Long time ago, some psychologists put a rat in a cage and they tied a string to its tail. The other end of that string was attached to a force meter. And what that allowed them to do was measure how hard the rat was pulling as an approximation of the rat's motivation levels. The harder it pulls, the more motivated it is to go in the other direction. Now, what they did was pretty interesting. They sprayed the smell of food in front of the rat, something that the rat obviously wanted quite a bit. And they got a measurement, they got a reading, and they said, okay, it was X amount of motivated to get to the food. But then what they did was they kept the food in front of the rat, but they also sprayed the smell of a cat behind the rat. So now it was simultaneously running towards something that it desired and away from something that it did not desire. It more than doubled. It didn't just double the motivation and how hard the rat pulled. It more than doubled. And we know this to be true because why? Everybody wants a 6-pack and almost nobody has it. Everybody wants $1 million and almost nobody has it. Why? Because wanting is not enough. So yes, absolutely, write the vision, make it plain, have a goal, have a benchmark, have some checkpoints along the way that you can celebrate. That's awesome. I want you to write down that vision. That's part of the positive motivation here. Write down, like, what are you actually doing this for? What sort of impact will it have on your life when you achieve your dream physique? What sort of impact will it have on your life when you achieve peak performance in your habits? What kind of impact on the people around you, your friends, your family, your support system? How many people will get blessed through you becoming the version of yourself that you know you were created and called to be? right? Write all of that down as your positive anchor. But here's the kicker. You need the negative anchor as well. How many people are you going to let down by not being the best version of yourself? If you don't take care of your health and you die early, how many people are let down by that? How much of your gifts are not going to be shared with the world because you checked out early because you couldn't get a hold of your habits and your vices? You couldn't remain accountable. How many people are going to suffer? Like there's somebody right now who is suffering because you have yet to step up to the plate and become the man that you're supposed to be. I'll tell you that flat out. I know that to be true for a fact. You have a calling and an anointing on your life, and until you walk into that, there are other people on this planet, other human beings right now who need your help, who will respond to the resonance of your voice, your messaging, your example, your leadership, and they're being let down right now. So what's the negative anchor? And then even for you, what are the negative consequences for you? You never get to feel proud of the way you look in the mirror. You never get to, if it's about your habits and that foundation of peak performance, you never get to live where you want to live, experience the things you want to experience. Like, what are you running toward and what are you running away from? I need both of those written out in detail right now. Pause the video and complete that exercise for me. Okay. Last thing, and then we're going to get into the technicalities of this, the everyday execution cycle. This is the mental transformation. I'm about to get to the physical stuff, but this is the mental transformation that has to take place before the physical transformation, because quite frankly, if I gave you the best fitness and nutrition advice in the entire world, which I'm about to give you, but if you don't have the proper mindset to implement, if you don't have the dual motivation anchor in place, if you don't have your identity loop in place, you don't know who you're trying to become, if you don't have some of these things in place, you're not going to execute at a high enough level to get the results that you actually want to achieve. That's why we're doing the mental transformation part first. Then we're going to get into the physical transformation part. This is your daily checklist, the everyday execution cycle. This is another part of my proprietary EME intellectual property, right? Number one is to decide. Once you've done your identity loop, once you have your motivational anchors in place, once you know what those daily non-negotiable standards are going to be for you, and I'm going to give you some ideas on what those could be in a moment here. But once you know what those are for you, you got to make a decision. Number one is make a decision. All right. The definition of the literal phrase to decide is to kill off other options. So the suffix in the word decide, C-I-D-E, you'll notice it's the same as in the words homicide and suicide. It means to kill. D literally means to separate from or to detach from. So making a true decision is not something where you have to exercise willpower every single time you need to make that choice. A true decision is it's done. This is the only way. The other options are killed off. The boats have been burned. This is what it is. That is what a genuine, real decision looks like in practicality. So step one is make the choice that the old you is dead. I promise you the old you must die completely before the new you can be born. Otherwise, if there's even 1% of that old you left, you still have an affinity for your demons. You still have an affinity for your vices. You still kind of reflect back on the glory days. If you do that, those vices, those habits, that old mentality is going to crawl up out of the grave like a freaking zombie and tear you down. You have to kill off the old version of your spirit. Surely there must be a death. Hopefully it is the old you and not your future you. But there must be a death either way. It's either the old you that you're going to kill off, or it's the version of you that you have the potential to become. I call it spiritual suicide. People commit spiritual suicide every day because they make decisions that are not in alignment with who they have the potential and the capacity to be. And what happens there is the version that, like, God has a version of you in mind when he created you. And it's the perfect version of you. It's the version of you that lived up to your fullest potential. Every time that you make choices that are counteractive to that version of you, you literally kill off that version that you have the potential to become. You're killing a version of yourself that could exist but never will because of your habits, because of your bad routines, because of your bad choices. So either way, you're killing something off. It's either the new you or the old you. You make the choice. Number two, declare. Make a public declaration of what's going to happen. This is the new you. This is the new standard. This is who you are. It always blew my mind when I was an athlete at Michigan how much more accountable I was to other people than I was to myself. I was willing to let myself off the hook way more often than I was willing to let my teammates and my coaches down. Make a public declaration. Hey, here's what I'm doing. I'm losing 20 pounds in the next 3 months. Hey, here's what I'm doing. I'm competing at a bodybuilding show. Here's what I'm doing. I'm going to give up alcohol for 90 days. Here's what I'm doing. Have other people involved in this process make a declaration, a statement of bold faith, of bold fact that this is the new way that I'm going to operate. Number three, design. You got to design your habit loop. Okay. I'm going to give you some ideas on what habits to implement in a moment here. The best way to do this is by what I call habit stacking. If you have a habit that you're already doing, coffee in the morning, brush your teeth in the morning, shower at night, whatever those things are, stack the new habit and attach it to the old habit and make it rewarding for you. Make it easy for yourself, right? If you're going to start taking supplements, like the everyday means everyday creatine every morning, have it next to your coffee. Make it easy. Make it right there in plain sight. You got to design your lifestyle in such a way where where the good new habits that you want are made easy. It's made evident. It's right in front of your face, right? And it's coupled with things that you're already doing. Likewise, those bad habits, those negative habits, those vices, those old routines that we want to get ourselves out of, make it as difficult for you as possible. If you have a junk food problem, stop having it in the house. Just don't have it around. Just eliminate it because, I mean, how likely are you to actually get up, get your keys, get your wallet, go to the car, drive to Walmart, and get those stupid cookies? Not very likely, right? Make it more difficult for yourself based on the lifestyle design and the habit design. Okay, number four, deposit. That's back to those daily deposits. Remember, vision, values, verification. This is the deposits and verification aspect of it. Make those daily deposits, track them over time so that you can see your wins and get the momentum from that. Number five, every single day, this is a daily execution checklist. Debrief. At the end of every day, I need you to sit there. It takes 30 seconds. What worked well today? What did not work well today? What can I improve? Okay? You have to be able to debrief so that you can do the next step, which is number six, double down. Whatever worked, double down on that and increase the intensity of that over time. So many people miss this. They finally start getting into good habits, finally start getting into good routines, finally start making good decisions, and then they forget to actually analyze what's happening in this process. And so they never really have clear direction on what do I need to double down on? What do I need to cut out of this? What's actually moving the needle versus what's just noise? It's signal versus noise, right? You need to be able to double down on the things that are working so that you can accelerate your progress. Every single day, this is your checklist. Take a screenshot of it, put it on your phone. Every day, I'm deciding who I'm going to be. I'm declaring that. I'm designing my life in a way where I make that easy for me to do. I'm making my daily deposits. I'm debriefing at the end of the day, and then I'm doubling down on what worked. This is how you exponentially increase the progress in your life. Here's a couple core habits that you can start to think about implementing. These are things that I do. You don't have to take the exact same ones. These are just some ideas to help get you on the process to peak performance. The next slide is going to be on the physical side, by the way. Number one, I want you to understand that consistency is more important than intensity. Okay? It's the compound interest that we're going after. The intensity will naturally rise as you get consistent. So for me, my baseline workout might be harder than what 99% of the Earth's population would even ever want to do or hope to do, right? But that's because I've been doing this for 15 years. And so as a natural byproduct of consistency, intensity will develop. Don't overwhelm yourself with massive intensity on the front end. I see so many people make this mistake where they try and design some ridiculous morning routine and it's just not going to work, okay? Consistency first, then the intensity will follow. For me, I do a daily workout. I post on social media every day because I want to inspire others by sharing what I'm doing. I do some form of cold exposure, usually a cold shower, because it sucks every freaking time. I hate it. I've never gotten used to it. And I need that discipline and to build that muscle of doing the things that I don't want to do every day. Number four, I read or listen to a podcast every day because I want to make sure that I'm growing intellectually. Number five, I pray and meditate every day, just 5 to 10 minutes. Doesn't take a lot of time because I believe that my spirituality is my foundation. Those are my five. You come up with yours. Okay. Physical transformation. Here's two things that I want you to know. Number one, you absolutely can build muscle and lose fat simultaneously. This is the biggest lie the fitness industry has ever sold, is that you have to bulk and cut. If you're doing a professional bodybuilding show, sure, do the bulk and cut thing. It's the most efficient way. It's easier to build a ton of muscle if you're strictly bulking, and it's easier to lose a ton of fat if you're strictly cutting. But the idea that you can't do both at the same time is complete and utter nonsense. All the athletes that I coached, even myself as an athlete for over a decade, this is how we train. Like we maintain very, very, very low body fat percentage year round and continue to get stronger and continue to build muscle the entire time. The reason is because they're two separate systems. Okay, fat loss comes down to calories in, calories out. You'll hear a lot of people talking about micronutrients. You'll hear a lot of people talking about the glycemic index of blah, 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 blah. It doesn't matter for 99% of people. Yes, better micronutrient profiles will help you feel better and operate at peak performance in terms of mental clarity. But in terms of fat loss, it makes zero difference. If you are in a caloric deficit, meaning every single day you are burning more calories than you ingest with your food, you will lose fat even if all of those calories came from Twinkies. If it's still a caloric deficit, you're going to not feel very good, but you will lose fat, okay? Muscle synthesis is a matter of protein intake and a matter of proper exercise. If you're training properly and effectively and you have enough protein, you will build muscle. Is it easier on a caloric surplus, meaning that you're intaking more calories than you're burning in a day? Yes, it makes it easier for your body, but it's not impossible even if you're in a caloric deficit. So the way that I typically train people is if you want to have a balanced body composition, slight caloric deficit, we don't need to be in 1,000 calorie a day deficit, couple hundred, few hundred calories per day deficit, plus very high protein, plus proper training, and you will lose fat while you gain muscle. It's just the way that it works. Okay, a couple points to touch on here. I follow the rule of what I call 90% nutrition. A 90% is an A in the classroom. It's an A in nutrition as well. You don't have to be hyper strict. You just need to make good choices 90% of the time. 9 times out of 10, you go, you're out at a restaurant, you're at fast food, and you're at Chick-fil-A. Instead of ordering the fries, you get the fruit cup. Instead of getting the fried chicken, you get the grilled chicken. It's not hard. Everybody intuitively knows what's healthy and what's not. Most people, you're just eating so much overly processed food and you're not anywhere close to 90%. Most people are maybe 50-50 in the choices that they make. And that's being pretty generous. So follow the 90% nutrition rule. 90% of the time, eat God's food and track it. What do I mean by eating God's food? I mean that it used to live, it used to breathe, so it's meat, or it grew from the earth. It's a fruit, it's a vegetable. If you can look at it and say, oh, I know what that is. Those are blueberries. That's an apple. That's a steak. That used to be a cow. Pretty good indication that that's God's food, okay? If you eat 90% God's food and you're tracking your macros and you're tracking your caloric intake, studies have shown that most people are off by between 30 and 50% when they're thinking about how many calories they're actually taking in every single day. And they usually underestimate the amount of calories that they bring in. If you use an app to track your calories, there's also been studies that show even just tracking will help people lose weight, even if they're not given a nutrition plan. Just the art of tracking it itself and becoming conscious and aware of what you're eating will make a massive, massive difference. Okay. So eat God's food and track it. Number 2, 1 gram a day of protein per pound of goal body weight. Emphasis on the word goal. So if you're trying to lose weight and get down to, if you're 200 pounds right now and you want to be at 170, 180 grams of protein per day is enough. You don't need to be eating 200 grams of protein a day, despite what your favorite fitness influencer might tell you. Every single study has shown that that's going to be too much, and a lot of that is going to actually end up getting stored as fat because your body's just not going to use it. Most studies show us that around 0.8 grams per pound of protein is enough, but again, we got to give a little bit of give and take there because most people underestimate how much protein they're actually getting when they're not tracking properly. And also, if you're losing weight, having a little bit of extra protein closer to the 1 gram per pound of goal body weight is helpful because as you're in that caloric deficit, it'll help you maintain the muscle mass that you already have, okay? Last but not least, 300 to 500 calorie per day deficit is around where you want to be if you don't want to starve yourself. Now, you can go lower than that, but understand that that's very, very aggressive. Once we start getting into 800, 1,000 calories a day, that's extremely aggressive. And while you will lose fat faster, you're going to experience a lot more hormonal side effects. You will experience a lot more energy side effects. You're going to be miserable all the time. Like I've done bodybuilding competitions, so I've been in 1,200 calorie a day deficits. It's absolutely brutal, and most people just don't need it, okay? You also risk really resetting your metabolism, and there's a lot of stuff that goes with that. So for most people, 300 to 500 calories per day of a deficit is about what you want to be at. The way that you're going to find this number is very, very simple. You take your weight in pounds, you multiply it by 10. That's going to be approximately your BMR or basal metabolic rate, meaning the RMR or your resting metabolic rate, the amount of calories that your body burns just to stay alive, functions like breathing, etc. Plus add in 400 to 500 calories for your just daily activity, walking around the house, fidgeting with a pen, stuff like that burns calories as well. The best way to approximate both of those things combined is literally just take your weight, multiply it by 10. That's about your baseline maintenance calories without any exercise or physical activity. I've actually done RMR tests in a lab, and this is shockingly accurate. Okay. So for me, I weigh about 175 pounds right now, and my RMR is right around 1,700 calories a day. So that it tracks pretty much perfectly. Then what you're going to do is add on your exercise on top of that. So if you go for walks, if you do any cardio, if you are lifting weights, if you're training at all, those are calories that you're expending that add to what's called your TDEE, or total daily energy expenditure. So what you see in the brackets here is really just an equation to figure out what your TDEE is. So as an example, if you currently weigh 200 pounds, then your basal metabolic rate is going to be around 200 times 10, 2,000 calories. That's just your daily activity and for you to survive. And then if you're burning 500 calories a day in exercise, lifting, cardio, etc., then that whole total daily energy expenditure goes up to 2,000 plus 500, 2,500 calories per day. So if we want to lose fat, we need to go beneath that. Maybe we start at 2,200 calories a day. Maybe we take a more aggressive approach and go 2,000 calories a day while making sure that we maintain that 1 gram per day of protein per pound of body weight, which in this case would be around 200 grams of protein. Okay. The opposite is true if you wanted to bulk. If you really are like, I'm a really skinny person, I want to put on muscle, that's my goal, then you just change that minus sign to a plus sign and you say plus 300 to 500 calories per day. And maybe you start eating at 2,800 or 3,000 calories a day. Also making sure you get 1 gram of protein per day per pound of goal body weight, right? So if you want to go up to 220 instead of 200 pounds, you should be eating 220, not 200. Okay, so that's how you recomp or recomposition your body. That's how you gain muscle and or lose fat simultaneously, or depending on if you wanted to use this to bulk or cut, you could do that as well. But that's the equation you need to know. The biggest thing here, I'm telling you, is tracking what you eat and tracking all your activity. Okay, most people are not at a place until a decade of experience later where they can eyeball, okay, that workout was 400 calories down. Okay, that cardio was about 200 calories. That plate that I just ate is about 600 calories. 99.99999% of people cannot do that until they have extensive experience. So track it, eat God's food, and follow this equation. I promise you, you're going to be in a great spot. Now, how do we actually train? First thing I'll tell you is that compound movements are always going to be better than isolation movements. A lot of guys want to go into the gym and just do bicep curls. Cool. It's good for your biceps, but it's all in all, it's a pretty small muscle. Like, I mean, I got pretty big ones, but I mean, it's only like out of your whole body. It's, not a whole lot of meat on just your biceps. So clearly you're not going to be burning as many calories compared to if you do a compound movement like a bench press. A bench press is activating your chest, your triceps, your shoulders to a certain extent. There's just a lot more going on. Think about a back squat. If you're doing a barbell squat, now you've got your glutes, your hamstrings, your quads. You're stabilizing the bar. You got to use your core. Like, basically, your whole body is engaged at that point. So you want to focus on these compound movements. The easiest way to think of a compound movement is, what's a big movement that utilizes a bunch of different muscles at once, okay? Again, back squat, bench press, clean and jerk is definitely, a great one. Burpees are a great one. Lat pull downs are a great one. We're using a bunch of different muscles simultaneously. That's going to increase your overall caloric burn. Most people, if you just want a body recomp and look better, you can get away with doing 70 to 80% compound movements just hitting your main lifts, your bench, your squat, your deadlift, and your lat pull down. And then the other 20% of the time you supplement with biceps, triceps, and shoulders. And calves. Those smaller muscles don't need as much work, okay? So that's my recommendation there. You're going to want to stay in around the 8 to 12 rep range if you're looking to just strictly look better aesthetically. The rule of thumb here is that anything 7 reps or less is primarily working on strength. So if you hit failure, meaning you literally cannot possibly do another rep at that same weight at 7 reps or less, you're primarily working on strength. Now, obviously, you're going to get bigger in the process as well, but the primary focus there is strength. If you're in the 8 to 12 rep range, your primary focus is going to be hypertrophy, and you can push that maybe to 15. That's the prime range to help your muscles grow and get bigger aesthetically. Once you pass 15 or 16 reps, you're basically doing cardio at this point, okay? You're working on muscular endurance. Now, yes, you will get a little stronger, a little bigger, but primarily the adaptation that is most likely to happen is muscular endurance. So that's about where you want to be. You don't necessarily want to train to failure on every set. You want to have 2 to 3 reps in reserve at the end of most sets. I like to finish my last set at complete and utter failure. Again, failure does not mean when you feel like stopping. Failure, it does not mean when you think you can't do one more. Failure means you literally try as hard as you can and the weight does not move. That is what failure means, okay? Supersets and drop sets are a great way to increase efficiency in the gym if you're looking to make a physical transformation. Supersets are the art of doing 2 exercises back to back, typically with opposing muscle groups. So for example, if I do 10 curls and then I immediately go to my tricep pull down rope and do 10 tricep pull downs, now while all the blood flow is going to my bicep because of the 10 curls that I just did, I'm stressing the opposing muscle group, the tricep. What that does is increase what's called metabolic stress, because now my tricep has to do the same level of mechanical work because I haven't changed the weight, but it has less blood, less oxygen, less resources to do it, makes it more metabolically stressful. Second thing you can do to increase efficiency in the gym if you're busy is drop sets. Just because your muscles hit failure at 40 pounds doesn't mean they're at failure at 20 pounds. Drop the pounds or the weights that you're using now once you hit failure, and then pick up some lighter weights and keep going till you hit failure with those weights. Now you're really increasing the overall mechanical stress, not metabolic, but mechanical stress on the muscle by offering it more overall stress for one working set, okay? Great way to save time. Another thing I'll mention here is that control equals growth. Do not be that guy in the gym that just goes in there and slings weights around, okay? Slow and steady wins the race. The eccentric portion, meaning on the way down from the lift, you want to have that controlled. It doesn't need to be super slow motion, but it does need to be controlled and reasonable, all right? A note on cardio, zone 2 is usually better for HIIT cardio. You want to do these in separate sessions from your lifting sessions, ideally. Otherwise, you could cannibalize some of the gains that you're making with the resistance training by doing the cardio immediately before or after. It's best to split those up into 2 sessions if possible. HIIT cardio used to have a great reputation because people would say, oh, it spikes your metabolism for the rest of the day. There's some truth to that, but the most recent research that's come out has said that that effect was very, very overplayed and overhyped and probably has a relatively minimal role in metabolism for the rest of the day. Zone 2 is tried and true. This is also known as low intensity, steady state cardio. This is things like walking on an incline treadmill. You want to get your heart rate to around 120 beats per minute, 125 beats per minute. If you're looking to lose fat, this is the way to go. All right. Last but not least, step count is king. If you're not getting 10,000 steps a day, do that. Find a way to get 10,000 steps a day. 12 or 15,000 is even better, but 10,000 steps a day is massive. The reason is because most of your burn that comes from exercise and movement is not during your actual cardio and lifting sessions. If you look at the total calories that people burn per day, the true dedicated exercise is the smallest part. The general movement of the body is the second largest next to your resting metabolic rate, which is just the calories burned to stay alive. And so if you can just move more, even though it doesn't feel like exercise, that is going to probably do even more for you than some crazy hour-long workout. There's only so many calories you can burn with an hour-long workout. But if you're out and about, you're moving, you're doing stuff, you're mobile, you're hiking, you're running around, like It just burns so many calories naturally. Okay? So if you can get to 10,000 steps a day on average, I'm telling you, it's going to make an absolute world of difference. Okay, let's talk the EME difference. If this is something that you're interested in learning more about or you want to get into our community, I want to show you a couple of things that we do here at Everyday Means Everyday. Number one is we have our daily workouts. This is all part of the Everyday Means Everyday coaching app and community, okay? We have daily workouts. Every single person in our community is given customized daily workouts that I've personally programmed and used with my D1 and Olympic level clients when it comes to sports exercise, when it comes to transformational exercise, weight loss exercise. I've been there, I've done that, I've got it all covered. Even bodybuilding type stuff, I promise you I've done this all before. I've done it with myself and I've done it with my clients, and I've programmed some incredible workout series that all come with video guides on proper form, mind-muscle connection, what you should look and feel like when you do the exercises. All of that is right there within the app, pre-programmed for you. So if you want to learn more about this stuff, that's one thing that we provide and offer here at Everyday Means Everyday. Number two, daily nutrition plans and macro tracking. You're going to notice this word daily quite a bit because that's the whole brand. We offer meal plans in the app. You actually get a dashboard to save all of your meals so that you don't have to manually input it every time. We have a dashboard to track all of your macros. It's really, really intuitive. You can see the bars of how close you are to hitting your different macronutrient and overall calorie goals every single day. It sends you push notifications to remind you to log your food, remind you to log all of your workouts. And it also comes with recipe guides and meal plans like specifically tailored to you and the calories that we have you on as a unique individual. Number three, daily coaching videos and core curriculum. So not only do we have a core curriculum that walks you through a little bit of what we went through today, but way more at a much higher level of detail. I want to empower you to take control of your own health and fitness and your own peak performance and your own habits and your own mindset. So I've got courses in here that are fully packaged, fully developed to give you everything that you need from a peak performance mindset standpoint, from a habits and lifestyle design standpoint, as well as from a physical fitness and nutrition standpoint. You're never going to need to rely on somebody again after you go through these courses. Not only do we have the core curriculum, we also have daily coaching videos. Every single day in the app, you open it up, there's a 5-minute motivational coaching video from me talking about motivation, sustainability, lifestyle design, habits, all of the things that you need to know to be successful in this every single day. We also have daily accountability and daily habit tracking. I mentioned it. The app will send you push notifications, the habits that you want to put in there. It will have a checklist right then and there. So all your personal development and your fitness development is all going to be in one place. You can check off, yep, I read my book today. Yep, I did a cold shower today. Yep, I did this. Yep, I did that. And we'll be able to track your adherence over time, which is also cool because we can see correlations between like what throws you off. Most people don't know these things. What throws you off? What sets you up for peak performance? What variables are in our control? How do we optimize who you are? Daily community support. There's a pop-in group chat right there within the app. Everybody that's part of the EME community is in there. It's freaking awesome. Everybody's holding each other accountable, asking and answering questions, meeting up in person. It's a really, really dope community of high-level people, a lot of entrepreneurs, a lot of athletes, a lot of regular everyday people who are just committed to being the best version of themselves. So that community is incredible. You get access to 24/7 AI-enabled coaching. So everything from motivational questions to workout technique and construction to nutrition guidance, everything. The AI is trained so well on all of my proprietary content and data sets from all the clients that I've worked with. It does not get better than this AI, and it is accessible to you 24/7 completely for free within the EME community. Okay? You get access to exclusive networking. We host pop-up events all the time. I'm always traveling, speaking. We'll have people come meet up. We'll hit workouts together. We'll mastermind together. Super, super fun experiences. You're always going to get access to those exclusive networking events. And you also get discounted access to all of our supplements here at Everyday Means Everyday and all of our apparel. So our creatine, our protein, our energy drinks, our apparel, everything you get discounts on as a member of the Everyday Means Everyday community. Okay, now, why is this so important? Because let's be honest, this is a higher quality alternative to anything else that you can do right now. Personal trainers are going to cost you $100 an hour at your local gym, and they're not going to give you any genuine nutrition guidance. They're not going to give you any real daily accountability or community support. It's just workouts, okay? Nutrition performance coaching is going to be another $100 an hour, and then personal peak performance coaching is going to be 5, 10, 15, 20 grand. Like, I personally have clients that I have in my what I call my platinum personal coaching, kind of a VIP group. That's mostly entrepreneurs, business coaching, but we also do a lot of this peak performance stuff. We'll do blood work. We take trips together. We do DEXA scans, VO2 max test. Like, we do a whole host of stuff. I'll fly out for their board meetings and do consulting. Like, it's a whole situation, but you're looking at like 6 figures for something like that, right? So to really have personalized peak performance coaching is incredibly, incredibly expensive. What we've done with the Everyday Means Everyday app and community is distill down the principles that make the biggest difference and deliver them to you in a tech-enabled way to empower you and then place you within the community that's going to hold you accountable to actually making use of everything that we have available, from the nutrition plans to the workout plans to the mindset coaching courses to the supplements that you need to the apparel you're going to need. Like, everything is there in one condensed area. Plus, the AI coach can serve as your personalized peak performance coach, trained on all of my stuff that I've taken from these 6-figure clients and use as data sets to train the AI on as well. So it's a ridiculous, ridiculous deal. Here's the deal, guys. I used to charge $6,000 plus for coaching packages just like this when I was working with clients. But because of the app, because of the intellectual property we've built out, because of the tech that we've built out, it's allowed us to scale this thing and offer it at, quite frankly, a ridiculous deal. Like, I can't even believe that I'm doing it for this price. I probably shouldn't be doing it for this price, considering especially what I used to charge for this kind of stuff. But I just want to help the most amount of people possible. So here's the deal. For everything, daily workouts, daily nutrition plans with recipe guides, grocery lists, etc., in-app macro tracking, daily mindset and motivational coaching videos, plus our core curriculum on mindset, peak performance, habits, and health and fitness, nutrition, etc., and daily accountability, habit tracking within the app, community support, 24/7 AI coach, exclusive networking, and discounts on supplements. It's literally only $97 a month. You are spending that somewhere, whether it be on snacks, on alcohol, on other poor decisions, on Netflix, on stupid stuff that you will never get an ROI on. I promise you, you're spending $97 a month somewhere. And I promise you, without a shadow of a doubt, this is the best return on investment that you can get on yourself for that amount of money. I should be charging $1,000 a month for this, but I just want to get this out to as many people as possible. Okay. So it's $97 a month. If you want to prepay for 12 months up front, you can do $799 for the entire year. Okay. So what I want you to do right now, if this is a community that you're interested in joining, is go to everydaymeanseveryday.com and sign up at the website. Everydaymeanseveryday.com. You can get a recap of everything that's included there. And I would absolutely love, love, love to see you over there. Before we get out of here, though, I do want to share a really, really quick story with you, just because I just feel like it's going to put things into perspective, okay? In 2022, I got a call from my not my grandmother, excuse me. I got a call from my mom, and she said, "Hey, your dad's mom, my grandma, my dad's mom, she's not doing too well, and I think you should come down here." And I lived here in Nashville at the time. They were back in Huntsville. And I was like, "Is it serious?" And she said, "Yeah, I think you need to come down here." So I drove down there. I got to the hospital, and I was confused because I didn't see my dad there. Remember, this is his mom that was in the hospital. I went to my mom, and I was like, why is dad not here? And she said, "Well, he's just having a hard time grieving and dealing with what's probably about to happen." I was like, "Oh, it's that bad." I said, "Okay." So me and my mom stayed there. I'm not going to judge my dad for not being there, how he wants to deal with the loss of a parent. You know, it's tough. And me and my mom stayed with grandma for a while, visited. She seemed okay. She was talking to us. Things were fine, you know. I mean, she was 90 years old, so she wasn't in perfect health, but seemed reasonable enough. And then we left the hospital, went home that night, went to bed, woke up the next morning. My mom pulls me aside and says, "Hey, your dad wants to go to the hospital today, but I want you to go with him because he needs somebody there that's just emotionally strong." I said, "No problem. Let's go." So me and my dad got in the same car, drove down the same roads, pulled up to the same hospital, parked in the same parking lot, went in the same doors, into the same elevator, into the same hospital room, except when we got there, Nothing was the same. I mean, it felt like the colors had been sucked out of the room. And we go in there and grandma's unconscious. And we start talking to her and tapping her on the shoulder and shaking her a little bit, and nothing's happening. So we sit there for a little while. And for the first time in 25 years, at that time I was 25 years old, I saw my dad panic. And keep in mind, this is like my Superman. This is literally my Superman. This is a guy who has been through cancer 3 times, beat it all 3 times. He's technically my stepfather. He had no obligation to sacrifice for me and raise me as his own, and he did. Like, just a freaking unbelievable human being. Strongest man I've ever met in my life. Never saw him cry. For a split second, I saw a chink in his armor because grandma wasn't waking up. And he had to sit there and know that he was not in control. And sooner or later, the nurse walked in and put a little pulse oxygen thing on grandma's finger, measures how much oxygen is in the blood. And I could see it because of where I was sitting in the room. My dad couldn't. And it said like 67 or something. And I'm not a doctor, but I knew you can't survive on 67% oxygen, you know. And the nurse looks to my dad and says, it's probably going to be any minute now. And me and my dad got on either side of the hospital bed, held grandma's hands, and just started talking to her. And we talked to her about how great of a grandmother she was to me, how great of a mom she was to my dad and his 2 brothers. We reminisced on all the Thanksgiving dinners and the Christmases. And eventually her breathing started to slow down. So she was unconscious. She would take a deep breath and go, and then 10 seconds would go by, and then 15 seconds, and then 20 seconds, 25, 30, 45, almost a minute would pass, and then she'd take another breath. The nurse turned to us and said, this is called end-stage breathing. It's what happens when somebody's about to pass of natural causes. And her breathing just slowed down more and more until she finally took that last breath, literally in my dad and I's arms. And for the first time in 25 years, I saw my dad cry. And after she had passed, my dad stood up and walked around the edge of the bed, and we hugged each other. And it was, like I said, the first time I'd ever seen him cry. I actually felt his tear drop onto my shoulder. And he pulled away from me. And he said, son, that's the hardest thing I've ever done. And he paused for just a second. And he said the most impactful thing that anybody has ever said to me in my entire life. He said, that's also the best thing that I've ever done. See, what I took from that moment was that when we choose to show up for ourselves and for the people that we love, you get to capture the best things that God has for you. And the reason I'm so passionate about this everyday means everyday community is because imagine if every day didn't mean every day to my dad. Like, remember the day before, he did not go to the hospital because it was too much pain, too much sacrifice, too much challenge, too much adversity, too much difficulty. And he decided not to go. Imagine if he had done that again the next day. Imagine if he had robbed himself of being with his mother in her final moments on earth because he didn't show up for himself and for others that day. That's why every day means every day. Because I don't want to gamble with the best things that God has in store for my life. I want to be consistent. I want to show up for myself. I want to show up for my family. I want to show up for the people that see me as a leader and as an example. And I promise, I don't care who you are. I don't care how bad things might look for you right now. You're a leader and an example for somebody. That's why I want you in this community. Because I want you to be the best that you can be, not occasionally. I want you to be the best that you can be daily. Because I believe that's the message God put me here to send to the world. And I believe if we can get an army of people that really believe that really live that, that's how you change the world one person at a time. Appreciate your time. I know I said this was going to be 30 minutes. We went an hour. I hope this was valuable for you. If you want to join the mission, the movement, and become the greatest version of yourself physically, mentally, and everywhere in between, go to everydaymeanseveryday.com. Join us, and I'll see you there.